A broke single janitor, drowning in bills, inherits a crumbling garage full of junk, only to discover it's hiding a fortune. But when greedy collectors and a dark family's secret merge, will he lose it all or finally turn his life around? Before we dive into this unbelievable story, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. The last straw. The alarm blared at 4:30 a.m., slicing through the stale air of Liam Carter's cramped apartment. He groaned, rolling onto his side. His muscles, already aching for the day, had even begun. Another long shift awaited him. Mopping floors, scrubbing bathrooms, emptying trash cans filled with the remnants of other people's lives. The life of a janitor was never glamorous, but at 42, with a mountain of debt and a 10-year-old daughter depending on him, it was all he had. Liam sat up, rubbing his face, the weight of exhaustion pressing down on him like a physical thing. Across the room, Sophie coughed in her sleep, a dry, rattling sound that made his chest tighten. Her asthma had been worse lately, and the medication wasn't cheap. He'd been stretching the doses, cutting pills in half when he could, but he knew he couldn't keep doing that forever. He shuffled into the tiny kitchen, the linoleum peeling at the edges. The sink dripped steadily. Another thing he couldn't afford to fix. He filled the coffee pot with water, measuring the grounds carefully. Every penny counted now. The envelope on the counter caught his eye. He'd been avoiding it since yesterday. With a deep breath, he picked it up and tore it open. Final notice. His stomach dropped. The rent was overdue. Again. The landlord had given him one last warning. Pay in full by the end of the week or get out. Liam clenched his jaw, the paper crumpling in his grip. He didn't have the money. Not even close. Dad. Sophie's sleepy voice came from the doorway. She rubbed her eyes, her dark curls tangled from sleep. Liam forced a smile, quickly shoving the notice into his pocket. Hey, kiddo, you're up early. My chest feels tight, she murmured. His heart twisted. He knelt in front of her, pressing a hand to her forehead. No fever, but her breathing was shallow. We'll use your inhaler before school, okay? She nodded, then glanced at the coffee pot. You're leaving already? Yeah, baby. Double shift today. He hated the way her face fell. He was always working, always gone. But what choice did he have? He poured his coffee into a thermos. No time to sit and drink it, and grabbed his keys. Ms. Rivera next door will walk you to the bus, all right? I'll see you tonight. Sophie hugged him tightly. Love you, Dad. Love you more. The door clicked shut behind him, and Liam exhaled, the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. The school hallway was quiet this early, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Liam pushed his mop across the tiles, his mind racing. He could pick up extra hours. Maybe sell some of his old tools. But it wouldn't be enough. Nothing ever was. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. Probably another bill collector. But something made him answer. Mr. Carter? A clipped, professional voice. Yeah, this is Attorney Daniel Reeves. I'm calling regarding the estate of your uncle, Walter Carter. Liam froze. His Uncle Walt? The man had been a ghost for years, a gruff, solitary mechanic who'd cut ties with the family long ago. Liam hadn't even known he'd died. What about him? There's been an inheritance, a property in your name. Liam blinked. What kind of property? A garage, out near the old industrial district. The lawyer's tone was indifferent, as if he were reading off a grocery list. It's been deemed of little value, mostly scrap metal and old parts. You're free to sell it, of course. Liam's grip tightened on the phone. A garage. Useless. Probably falling apart. But still it was something. Where is it? The lawyer gave him the address, then added, The keys are under the mat. I'll email you the paperwork. The call ended, leaving Liam standing there, stunned. An inheritance from a man he barely knew. That evening, after his shift, Liam drove through the fading light toward the address the lawyer had given him. The industrial district was a graveyard of abandoned factories and rusted chain-link fences. His headlights cut through the darkness as he turned onto a dirt road, the car bouncing over potholes. And then he saw it. The garage was a sagging, weather-beaten structure, its paint long since peeled away. The roof dipped dangerously in the middle, and the wooden doors hung crooked on their hinges. It looked like a strong wind could flatten it. Liam stepped out of the car, the crunch of gravel under his boots the only sound in the stillness. He lifted the cracked concrete step. Sure enough, a key rested beneath it. The lock was rusted, but after a few tries, it gave. The door creaked open, releasing a wave of dust and the scent of oil and old metal. Liam flicked on his flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness. The place was a mess. Tools scattered, shelves cluttered with rusted parts. And in the center, under a thick layer of grime and tarps, shapes. Liam reached out, gripping the edge of a heavy canvas cover. With a grunt, he yanked it back. The beam of his flashlight reflected off sleek, curved metal. His breath caught. It wasn't scrap. It was a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO. And behind it, more shapes, more cars hidden beneath decades of neglect. Liam's heart pounded. What had he just stumbled into? Buried treasure. Liam's flashlight trembled in his hand as he stepped closer, the beam of light tracing the Ferrari's elegant curves. Dust swirled in the air, catching the dim glow like gold flecks. He reached out, fingertips brushing the car's hood, half expecting to vanish, some kind of sleep-deprived hallucination. But the metal was cold and solid beneath his touch. This can't be real. He yanked another tarp away, revealing a 1965 Shelby Cobra, its racing stripes still visible beneath the grime. Then another, a Jaguar E-Type, its low, predatory silhouette unmistakable even under layers of dirt. His pulse hammered in his throat. These weren't just old cars. They were legends. Liam stumbled back, his boots kicking up decades of dust. His Uncle Walt, the recluse, the man who'd vanished from the family after some long-ago feud, had been sitting on a fortune, and no one had known. A noise outside made him freeze. The crunch of gravel. Someone was here. Liam killed the flashlight, plunging the garage into darkness. He held his breath, listening. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Then a voice, rough, amused. You gonna call the cops, or are you just gonna stand there in the dark? Liam flicked the light back on, aiming at the doorway. A man leaned against the frame, arms crossed, a cigarette dangling from his lips. Late 50s, grease-stained coveralls. A tattoo of a wrench peeking out from his collar. Who the hell are you? Liam demanded, hand tightening around the flashlight like a weapon. The man took a drag, exhaling smoke. Roy, I worked with your uncle, saw the lights. He nodded at the cars. Guess you found Walt's little secret. Liam didn't lower the light. You knew about these? Roy smirked. Knew? Hell, I helped him hide them. He stepped inside, running a hand along the Ferrari's fender. Back in the day, Walt was the best restorer in the state. Then he got screwed over in some business deal. Went off the grid. Started buying these beauties under fake names, stashing them where no one looked. He chuckled. Guess he never told you. Liam's mind raced. How much are they worth? Roy whistled low. Millions, especially that Ferrari. Only 36 were ever made. Last one at auction went for, what, 48 million. He glanced at Liam. Course, that's restored. These VE been sitting. Gonna need work. Work Liam couldn't afford. Tools he didn't have. Time he didn't own. Roy crushed his cigarette under his boot. Look, kid, I like your uncle. So here's some free advice. Say 'em fast. Quiet. There's people who'd kill for cars like these. Liam stiffened. What's that supposed to mean? But Roy was already walking away, tossing over his shoulder. Lock up when you leave. And hey, congrats on the lottery ticket. The door creaked shut behind him. Silence. Liam turned back to cars, his reflection warped in the Ferrari's dusty windshield. Millions. Enough to pay off the rent, Sophie's medical bills, maybe even buy a real house. A future. But Roy's warning echoed in his skull. People who'd kill for these. His phone buzzed. Sophie's school. His stomach dropped. Not now. Mr. Carter? Sophie's in the nurse's office. Her asthma's acting up again. She needs her inhaler refill. The nurse's tone was polite but firm. They'd heard the excuses before. Liam squeezed his eyes shut. I'll take care of it. He hung up, staring at the cars. He had no choice. He had to sell one. The first offer. The next morning, Liam sat in a cramped diner booth, nursing a coffee he couldn't afford, waiting for a man he didn't trust. Roy had set it up. Guy's a collector. Pays cash. No questions. The bell above the door jingled. A man in a tailored suit strode in, scanning the room like he was slumming it. Mid-40s, slick back hair. A watch that probably cost more than Liam's car. Mr. Carter? The man extended a hand. Vincent Cole. Liam shook it. Cole's grip was firm, his smile practiced. I hear you got something rare, Cole said, sliding into the booth. A 62 GTO. Liam kept his voice steady. Maybe. Cole laughed, pulling out a checkbook. Let's skip the games. I'll give you 50 grand. Today, 50,000. It would cover the rent, Sophie's meds, maybe even a decent used car. But something fell off. That's it, Liam said. No inspection? No mechanic? Cole's smile didn't reach his eyes. I know what it's worth, and what it'll cost to restore. He leaned in. But here's the thing, Liam, you don't have the time to shop around, do you? Liam's fingers tightened around his coffee cup. How the hell does he know that? Cole slid the check across the table. 50 grand. Right now, or walk away. The numbers swam in front of Liam's eyes. He needed the money, but Roy's voice whispered in his head, people who'd kill for these? Liam pushed the check back. I'll think about it. Cole's smile vanished. Big mistake. The break-in. That night, Liam lay awake. Sophie's steady breathing the only sound in the apartment. His phone buzzed, a security alert. The garage. He bolted upright, grabbing his keys. By the time he got there, the door was pried open, tracks in the dust, tools scattered, but the cars were still there. Whoever had broken in hadn't taken anything. They just looked. Liam's blood ran cold. This wasn't over. The first offer and the first threat. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of Liam's apartment, casting long stripes of light across the kitchen table. He sat hunched over his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard as he searched for information on the cars in the garage. Every search result made his stomach tighten. 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO, last auction price, $48 million. 1965 Shelby Cobra 427, estimated value, $6 to $8 million. 1961 Jaguar E-Type, rare prototype, possibly one of a kind. Liam rubbed his temples. Even the most conservative estimates put the collection's worth at over $100 million. It was an impossible sum, a number too large to fully comprehend. And yet, there it was, sitting in a rotting garage on the edge of town. Sophie shuffled into the kitchen, still in her pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Dad, can we get pancakes today? Liam forced a smile. Maybe this weekend, kiddo. Her face fell, and guilt twisted in his chest. He hated saying no, but until he figured out what to do with the cars, every dollar still mattered. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You should have taken the offer. Liam's blood ran cold. The stranger in the suit. The school parking lot was nearly empty when Liam pulled in later that morning. He had taken the day off work, claiming a family emergency. In truth, he needed answers. He dialed Roy's number for the third time. Again, it went to voicemail. Damn it, Liam muttered, shoving the phone back into his pocket. A sleek black sedan rolled into the lot, parking a few spaces away. The driver's door opened, and a man in a tailored suit stepped out. The same man from the diner. Vincent Cole. Liam's muscles tensed. Cole adjusted his cufflinks as he approached, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. Mr. Carter, fancy meeting you here. Liam stepped between Cole and the school entrance. What the hell do you want? Cole smiled, but his eyes were cold. Just making sure you reconsider my offer. $50,000 is generous for a car in that condition. You and I both know it's worth more, Liam snapped. But here's the thing. Cole leaned in, his voice dropping. "You don't own those cars." Liam froze. "What?" Cole pulled a folded document from his jacket. "Your uncle's estate is under dispute. A business partner from years ago has a claim. Legal, binding." He handed Liam the paper. "This makes you a thief, Mr. Carter." Liam scanned the document, his pulse roaring in his ears. It looked official, legal letterhead, signatures. But something felt off. "This is bullshit," he said. Cole smiled and wavered. "Take the money. Walk away. Or this gets messy." Behind them, the school bell rang. Kids spilled out into the yard, laughing, shouting. Sophie would be out soon. Liam crumpled the paper in his fist. "Get the hell out of here." Cole sighed as if disappointed. "You'll regret this." Then he turned and walked away, leaving Liam standing there, his hands shaking. The lawyer's call. That afternoon, Liam sat in his car outside a downtown law office, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. The document Cole had given him gnawed at him. Was it real? Could someone actually take the cars from him? He dialed the number on the business card the estate lawyer had given him. Reeves and Associates. A receptionist answered. "I need to speak to Daniel Reeves." "Now." A pause. Then, "Mr. Reeves is in a meeting. Can I take a message?" Liam gritted his teeth. "Tell him Liam Carter is calling about his uncle's garage. And it's urgent." 5 minutes later, his phone rang. "Mr. Carter," Reeves said, his voice clipped. "What's the problem?" Liam explained the document. Cole's threats. Reeves went silent for a long moment. Then, "I'll look into it. But if there's any validity to this claim, you could be facing a legal battle." Liam's stomach dropped. "How long will that take?" "Months. Maybe years." Years. Liam didn't have years. He had days before the eviction notice took effect. He had Sophie's medical bills piling up. "And the cars?" he asked. "Can I sell one?" Reeves hesitated. "If the title is clear, technically yes. But if this claim is legitimate, you could be liable." Liam exhaled sharply. "So I'm screwed either way." "Mr. Carter," Reeves said quietly, "I'd be careful who you trust." The call ended, leaving Liam staring at his reflection in the rearview mirror. He had no choice. He had to find out the truth. The break-in. That night, Liam parked a block away from the garage and approached on foot, his flashlight off. The street was silent, the only light coming from a flickering lamppost. Something was wrong. The padlock was cut. Liam's pulse spiked. He grabbed a rusted pipe from the ground and pushed the door open slowly, wincing at the creak of hinges. Inside, the garage had been ransacked. Tools were scattered, drawers overturned. The tarps had been pulled back on the cars, and in the dim moonlight, Liam could see something glinting on the Ferrari's hood. He stepped closer. A business card. Vincent Coles. On the back, a single word. "Last chance." The family's secret. The business card burned in Liam's pocket as he drove through the rain-slicked streets, his windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the downpour. Every few seconds, his eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, half expecting to see headlights tailing him. Cole's words echoed in his skull like a threat. Last chance. He needed answers. And there was only one person left who might have them. The mechanic's daughter. Roy's auto shop was a rundown cinder-block building on the outskirts of town, its neon sign flickering like a dying pulse. Liam parked around back, avoiding the front lot where a surveillance camera hung crookedly above the door. The garage bay was empty except for an old Chevy up on lifts, its undercarriage exposed. The air smelled of grease and stale coffee. "Roy." Liam's voice bounced off the concrete walls. No answer. Then, from the shadows near the tool chest, a woman stepped forward. She was younger than Liam had expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp green eyes and dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail. Grease streaked her coveralls, and she held a wrench like she knew how to use it. "Roy is not here," she said. Her voice was low, wary. Liam tensed. "Who are you?" "Maria, Roy's daughter." She studied him for a long moment before adding, "You're Liam Carter." It wasn't a question. "How do you—" "He told me you'd come." She tossed the wrench onto a workbench with a clatter. Said you'd be dumb enough to ignore Cole's warning. Liam bristled. I didn't have a choice. Maria wiped her hands on a rag, her eyes never leaving his. There's always a choice. She jerked her chin toward a back office. Come on, before someone sees you. The box of secrets. The office was cramped, its walls plastered with vintage car posters and yellowed invoices. Maria locked the door behind them before kneeling beside a battered filing cabinet. Your uncle wasn't just some mechanic, she said, yanking open the bottom drawer. He was a genius, and he got screwed over by some very powerful people. She pulled out a dusty cardboard box and dropped it on the desk. Inside were newspaper clippings, faded photographs, and a leather-bound notebook. Liam picked up one of the photos. A younger Walt standing beside a gleaming Ferrari, his arm around a man in a sharp suit. The caption read, Walt Carter and Daniel Hargrove, 1987. Hargrove, Liam muttered. That name was on the legal papers Cole showed me. Maria nodded grimly. Hargrove Motors. They partnered with your uncle to restore classic cars back in the 80s. Walt did all the work. Hargrove handled the money. She flipped open a notebook, revealing pages of meticulous sketches and repair logs. Then one day, Hargrove claimed Walt stole from him, sued him into the ground. Walt lost everything. His shop, his reputation, even his family. Liam's throat tightened. That explained why his parents had never spoken about Walt, why the man had become a ghost. Maria tapped a newspaper clipping, a small article about a lawsuit being settled out of court. Hargrove died 5 years ago, but his son runs the company now, and he's been hunting for those cars ever since. Liam's head snapped up. Cole works for him. Cole is him, Maria corrected. Vincent Cole is a fake name. His real name is Vincent Hargrove. The pieces clicked together with terrifying clarity. The lowball offer, the legal threats, the break-in. Hargrove wanted those cars back, and he'd do anything to get them. The prototype. Maria pulled a folded blueprint from a box, spreading it across the desk. There's something else. The schematic showed a sleek, unfamiliar car design, labeled Porsche 550 Spider prototype. 101. Your uncle wasn't just hiding rare cars, Maria said. He was hiding this. A prototype Porsche that was supposed to be destroyed. Hargrove's father stole the design, then blamed Walt when the company caught on, if it's still in that garage. It's worth a fortune, Liam finished. More than that. Maria met his eyes. It's proof Hargrove's family are the real thieves. A sudden bang at the office door made them both jump. Maria? Roy's voice tense. You in there? Maria shoved the blueprint into Liam's hands. Take this. Go out the back. But now, Liam, her grip on his arm was iron. And whatever you do, don't trust a lawyer. The trap. Liam barely made it to his car before headlights flooded the alley. A black sedan. Cole's. He ducked low, heart hammering, as the car rolled past. Only when the taillights vanished around the corner did he dare to start the engine. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your email. Then call me. D. Reeves? Liam pulled up the message. Attached was a scanned document titled Last Will and Testament of Walter Carter. And one line stood out in stark, terrifying clarity. If my nephew is reading this, it means they found me, and they'll come for you next. The bidding war. Rain drummed against the windshield as Liam sat in his parked car, staring at the email from Reeves. The scan will blur before his eyes. The words, they'll come for you next, burning into his mind. His fingers trembled as he dialed the lawyer's number. Reeves answered on the first ring. Mr. Carter, I was hoping you'd call. Liam's throat was dry. What the hell is this? Who's coming for me? A pause. Then Reeves' voice dropped. Urgent. Not over the phone. Meet me at the old train depot on 5th Street. 1 hour. And for God's sake, don't tell anyone. The line went dead before Liam could respond. The lawyer's revelation. The abandoned train depot loomed in the darkness, its broken windows like empty eye sockets. Liam parked behind a rusted freight car, his hand lingering near the tire iron under his seat. Reeves emerged from the shadows near a boarded-up ticket booth, his usually crisp suit rumpled, his tie loose. Dark circles hung under his eyes. "You look like hell," Liam said. Reeves barked a humorless laugh. "You would too if you'd seen what I have." He thrust a manila envelope into Liam's hands. "Hargrove's people have been watching my office. Had to smuggle these out." Liam tore open the envelope. Inside were photos, grainy surveillance shots of his apartment, Sophie's school, the garage. A cold fury settled in his chest. Reeves pointed to one photo showing a bald man in a black jacket, lurking near Liam's car. "That's Marcus Boone, Hargrove's head of security, ex-military. The kind of man who makes problems disappear." Liam's fingers tightened on the photos. "Why show me this?" "Because your uncle's isn't what it seems." Reeves pulled out another document, a faded contract. Walt didn't just inherit those cars. He stole them back from Hargrove. This proves it. The contract detailed how Daniel Hargrove had cheated Walt out of his share of their restoration business, then seized his car collection through fraudulent lawsuits. Walt had spent years tracking them down, buying them quietly through shell companies. Liam's head spun. "So they're mine, legally." Reeves shook his head. "Not if Hargrove destroys his paperwork first. And he will. That's why we need to move fast." A train whistle screamed in the distance, making them both flinch. The auction plan. Reeves laid out the plan as they huddled in the depot's crumbling waiting room. "Christie's has a classic car auction in 3 days. If we can get one of those cars authenticated and listed, they'll have to recognize the sale," Liam finished. "And Hargrove can't touch it once it's in the system." "Exactly. But we need to act before." Headlights sliced through the broken windows. Reeves grabbed Liam's arm. "Out the back. Now!" They sprinted through a maze of rotting freight cars, Boone's shouts echoing behind them. Liam's lungs burned as he vaulted over a rusted coupling, Reeves panting beside him. A gunshot cracked the air. Reeves cried out, clutching his shoulder as he stumbled. Liam dragged him behind a stack of pallets, just as another bullet splintered the wood above their heads. "Go!" Reeves shoved Liam away. "I'll lead them off." Liam hesitated, but the lawyer's expression was steel. "Protect those cars, Carter, or we're both dead." The safe house. Maria's safe house was a cramped apartment above a defunct hardware store. She bandaged Liam's scraped hands as he recounted the ambush, her face grim. "Reeves was right about one thing," she said. "You need to get those cars legitimized fast." She pulled out her laptop. "I know someone at Christie's, but we'll only get one shot at this." Liam stared at the blueprint spread across her kitchen table. The garage's layout, the Porsche prototype's hiding place. "Which car do we take?" Maria didn't hesitate. "The Ferrari. Most recognizable. Highest value." She snapped the laptop shut. "But Hargrove will be watching the garage. We need a distraction." A knock at the door made them both freeze. Maria peered through the peephole and exhaled. "It's Roy." The mechanic barged in, his face ashen. They grabbed Reeves. "Boone's boys are tearing the city apart looking for you, too." He tossed Liam a set of keys. "My tow truck's out back. Let's move." The extraction. 2:17 a.m. The garage was eerily silent, the only light coming from a single flickering street lamp. Roy's tow truck idled in the alley as Liam and Maria crept inside. The Ferrari sat where they'd left it, its red paint dull under layers of dust. Maria went to work prepping the car while Liam pried up a loose floorboard near the workbench. Walt's hidden compartment. Inside lay a slim metal case. The prototype's blueprints. A shadow moved outside the window. Liam's breath caught. Too late to run. The door burst open. Marcus Boone stood silhouetted in the doorway, a pistol gleaming in his hand. "Well," he smirked, "looks like Christmas came early." Trust no one. The barrel of Boone's gun gleamed under the garage's single hanging bulb. Liam's muscles locked, his pulse roaring in his ears. Behind him, Maria stood frozen beside the Ferrari, her wrench half raised like a weapon. Boone stepped forward, his boots crunching on broken glass. "Hands where I can see 'em, Carter." Liam slowly lifted his arms, the metal case with the prototype blueprints suddenly heavy in his grip. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Maria's fingers tighten around the wrench. "You're making a mistake," Liam said, forcing his voice steady. "Hargrove's the thief, not me." Boone snorted. "Don't care." He jerked the gun toward the case. "Give me that. Then we're taking a ride to see Mr. Hargrove." A floorboard creaked near the back of the garage. Boone's head snapped toward the sound, just as Roy's tow truck came crashing through the garage doors in a shower of splintered wood. Liam dove sideways as Boone fired. The bullet sparked off the Ferrari's fender. Maria swung her wrench, catching Boone's wrist with a sickening crack. The gun clattered to the floor. Roy leapt from the truck, a tire iron in hand. "Get the car out of here." Liam didn't hesitate. He grabbed Maria's arm and yanked her toward the Ferrari, tossing her the keys. "Drive." Boone roared, tackling Roy to the ground as Maria turned the ignition. The Ferrari's engine growled to life, a sound like thunder after decades of silence. Liam barely had time to jump into the passenger seat before Maria slammed the accelerator. They shot through the ruined garage doors, tires screeching on asphalt. In the rear-view mirror, Boone stood silhouetted against the flames from the tow truck's ruptured gas tank. Roy nowhere to be seen. The getaway. Maria wove through back alleys, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. Where to? Liam clutched the metal case to his chest. "Christie's. We get this car authenticated before Hargrove can stop us." His phone buzzed, an unknown number. The text showed a photo of Sophie sitting at her school desk, unaware she was being watched. The message read, "Last chance to be smart." Liam's blood turned to ice. Maria glanced over. "What?" He showed her the screen. Her face hardened. "We need to get your daughter somewhere safe. Now." The safe house. Sophie clung to Liam the moment he walked through the door of Maria's cousin's apartment. "Dad? What's happening?" Liam smoothed her hair, forcing calm into his voice. "Just a little adventure. Kiddo, you get to have a sleepover with Tia Rosa." Maria's cousin, a no-nonsense nurse with tattooed arms, nodded from the kitchen. "She'll be safe here." Liam knelt, looking Sophie in the eyes. "Remember our secret knock?" She nodded solemnly. "Shave and a haircut." "Good girl." He pressed a kiss to her forehead, then handed Rosa a wad of cash from his dwindling savings. 2 days. That's all I need." As they left, Maria grabbed his arm. "The auction's tomorrow. We need to stash the Ferrari somewhere Hargrove can't touch it." Liam thought of the one place no one would look, the police station. The night shift sergeant blinked at them from behind the precinct desk. "You want leave of what in our impound lot." Liam tapped the Ferrari's forged registration papers, courtesy of Roy's connections. "Just overnight. It's part of an estate dispute." He slid a $100 bill across the counter. "For your trouble." The sergeant pocketed the cash. "No promises if it gets scratched." As they walked away, Maria muttered, "That's the dumbest brilliant plan I've ever seen." Liam checked his watch. 4:17 a.m. 12 hours until the auction. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was Roy's number, but the voice wasn't Roy's. "Your mechanic friend has a lot to say." Boone growled. "Meet me at the docks at dawn. Come alone, or the old man swims with the fishes." The line went dead. Maria saw Liam's face. "No, it's a trap." Liam stared at the sunrise bleeding over the city. "I know." The prototype's secret. Back at Maria's apartment, Liam spread the prototype blueprints across the table. Something nagged at him. A discrepancy in the schematics. Maria leaned over his shoulder. "What is it?" Liam traced a finger along the drawings. "These markings. They're not just engineering notes." He grabbed a UV light from Maria's toolkit. Under the blacklight, hidden symbols glowed on the blueprints. A string of numbers and letters. Maria sucked in a breath. "Coordinates." Liam pulled up a map on his phone. The numbers led to a location 50 miles north. A remote stretch of forest near Walt's old hunting cabin. Maria met his eyes. "There's something else out there." Outside, a car door slammed. They both froze. Too late to run. The prototype. The knock at Maria's door came again. Harder this time. Liam's hand hovered over the tire iron on the table as Maria crept to the window and peeled back the curtain just enough to see outside. "Police," she whispered. Liam's stomach dropped. Had Hargrove gotten to them already? He shoved the glowing blueprints into the metal case and slid it under the couch just as the pounding resumed. Open up. We have a warrant. Maria shot Liam a look that said play along before unlocking the door. Two uniformed officers stood on the threshold, their expressions grim. Behind them, Marcus Boone leaned against an unmarked sedan, smirking. The taller officer held up a paper. We're searching the premises for stolen property. Step aside. Liam's mind raced. The Ferrari was safe at the police impound. But the prototype blueprints. Maria crossed her arms. What stolen property? A 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO. The officer said, reading from the warrant, reported stolen by Vincent Hargrove earlier tonight. Boone stepped forward, his voice dripping with false concern. Such a shame. A janitor like you, Mr. Carter, mixed up in all this. He nodded to the officers. Check under furniture. These types love hiding things. As the cops began tearing through the apartment, Liam caught Maria's eye and flicked his gaze toward the kitchen. She gave an almost imperceptible nod. Hey! Liam suddenly shouted, shoving a chair over with a loud crash. When everyone turned, Maria bolted for the kitchen. Boone reacted first. Stop her. But Maria was already out the back door. The metal case clutched to her chest. One officer gave chase while the other slammed Liam against the wall, cuffing his wrist behind his back. Boone got in Liam's face, his breath reeking of mint and malice. You just signed your daughter's death warrant. The word sent a white-hot rage through Liam. He headbutted Boone square in the nose, feeling cartilage crunch. Boone staggered back, howling, blood gushing between his fingers. The remaining officer yanked Liam toward the door. You're under arrest. As he was shoved into the squad car, Liam caught one last glimpse of Boone through the window. The enforcer wasn't looking at him. He was on the phone, his bloody face twisted in fury. And Liam knew with terrible certainty. Sophie wasn't safe. The interrogation. The fluorescent lights of the interrogation room buzzed like angry wasps. Liam's wrists ached from the cuffs, his forehead throbbing where he'd headbutt Boone. The detective across the table sighed. Look, Carter, I know Hargrove's full of shit, but the warrant's real, and that Ferrari was reported stolen. He slid a file across the table. Tell me where the prototype blueprints are, and maybe we can deal. Liam stared. The file contained crime scene photos, Walt's garage, the burned tow truck, Roy's bloodstained coveralls lying in the wreckage. His throat tightened. Where's Roy? The detective's expression darkened. Honestly, probably at the bottom of the harbor by now. He leaned forward. You're next unless you give me something to work with. Liam's mind raced. The coordinates on the blueprint. If they led to Walt's real stash, it might be the only leverage he had left. I need a phone call. The detective hesitated, then slid a burner phone across the table. 1 minute. Liam dialed Maria's number from memory. When she answered, he spoke fast. Remember our fishing trip up north? The spot Grandpa loved? Be there by sundown. He hung up before she could respond. The detective snatched the phone back. Cute code. Too bad it won't matter. He stood, heading for the door. Hargrove's lawyers are on their way to transfer you to his custody for civil asset recovery. He shook his head. Pray they kill you quick. The door clanged shut, leaving Liam alone with his racing thoughts. The escape. The explosion rocked the precinct at 3:17 a.m. Liam was dozing against the interrogation room wall when the blast sent him sprawling. Alarms wailed as smoke poured through the vents. The door burst open, not a cop, but Maria, her face smudged with soot, a fire extinguisher in hand. Let's go. She uncuffed him with keys, snatched from a locker. We got about 90 seconds before they realized that was just a trash can full of road flares. They sprinted through the chaos of evacuating officers, ducking into an alley where a stolen patrol car idled. Maria tossed Liam a duffel bag as she peeled out. Clothes. Cash. And this. She nodded to the metal case at Liam's feet. The blueprints. Boone's men are already heading for the coordinates. We need to beat them there. Liam changed quickly, his hands shaking. Sophie. Safe. Rosa took her out of town. Maria took a sharp turn, the tires squealing. But Hargrove knows about the prototype now. Whatever's at those coordinates, he'll kill for it. The dashboard clock read 3:42 a.m. For hours until dawn. For hours until the auction. For hours to find whatever Walt had buried in those woods. The cabin, the old hunting cabin, looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Rotting wood, broken windows, the scent of mildew thick in the pre-dawn air. Maria checked the coordinates again. It's not inside. Has to be nearby. Liam scanned the tree line, his flashlight beam catching on something unnatural, a patch of earth too flat, too square. He dropped to his knees, digging with his hands until his fingers hit metal. Here. They unearthed a rusted lockbox the size of a suitcase. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, lay a stack of documents and a single key. Maria whistled. Holy shit. The papers were originals. Signed contracts proving Hargrove's father had stolen Walt's designs. Faked the lawsuits. Even ordered arson on competing garages. Enough to bring down the entire Hargrove empire. But the key was more puzzling. Tiny, intricately cut, with a Porsche logo etched into the bow. Maria turned it over in her fingers. This doesn't go to a car. It's a safety deposit box key. Headlights cut through the trees. Boone's voice rang out through a megaphone. Come out with your hands up, Carter, or we burn the whole forest down. Liam shoved the documents into his jacket. Time to go. They slipped into the tree line just as the first Molotov cocktail shattered against the cabin's roof. The legal fight. The forest fire lit up the night sky behind them as Liam and Maria crashed through the underbrush, the heat searing their backs. Branches whipped at their faces, their breath coming in ragged gasps. Boone's shouts echoed through the trees, growing closer with every second. Liam clutched the documents to his chest, the key digging into his palm. They needed to get to the auction, needed to expose Hargrove. But first, they had to survive the next 5 minutes. Maria grabbed his arm, yanking him behind a moss-covered boulder just as flashlight beams cut through the smoke. We can't outrun them, she whispered, her voice raw. Liam's mind raced. The key, the documents, the prototype. It all had to mean something. Then it hit him. Walt's storage unit, he breathed. Maria frowned. What? The key. It's not for a bank. It's for that old storage facility off Route 9. Walt used to keep parts there. Liam peered around the boulder. Boone's men were fanning out, searching. If we can get to a car. A gunshot rang out, splintering the tree above their heads. Move! They sprinted downhill toward the sound of rushing water. The river Walt had taught Liam to fish in as a boy. The old man's voice echoed in his memory. When you're cornered, boy, sometimes the only way out is through. The water was ice cold when they hit it, the current immediately pulling them downstream. Liam fought to keep the documents above the surface as the freezing water stole his breath. Behind them, muzzle flashes lit up the bank, but the bullets went wide. They washed up 1/2 mile downstream, shivering and gasping on a gravel bar. Maria's teeth chattered as she checked the metal case. Still sealed, the blueprint's safe. Tell me the storage unit is close, she managed. Liam pointed to the lights glowing in the distance. 10-minute walk. The storage unit. Unit 42 was at the back of the derelict facility, its padlock rusted shut. Liam's hands shook as he fit Walt's key into the lock. It turned with a screech. The door rolled up to reveal not car parts, but a sight that made Liam's knees weak. Under a heavy tarp sat the Porsche 550 Spider prototype, pristine, gleaming, and unmistakably real. Maria let out a choke laugh. He didn't hide blueprints. He hid the actual car. Liam ran a hand along the Porsche's flawless curves. This wasn't just a car. It was a time bomb waiting to detonate Hargrove's empire. The documents proved it was stolen. The car proved Walt's innocence. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Auction starts in 90 minutes. Police have Sophie. The world tilted. Liam showed Maria, her face going pale. It's a bluff, she said. Rosa would have. Another text came through, this time a photo. Sophie sitting in a police station, a uniformed officer beside her. Liam's vision went red. We're out of time. The trap. Christie's auction house was a glittering fortress of wealth, its marble floors swarming with collectors in tailored suits. Liam stood at the entrance in borrowed clothes, the documents burning a hole in his jacket pocket. Maria gripped his arm. Remember the plan. We authenticate the Ferrari, force Hargrove's hand, then I get my daughter back. Liam finished. The auction manager, a silver-haired man named Whitaker, nearly fainted when Liam presented the Ferrari's real registration papers. My God, he whispered. The lost Carter collection. He snapped his fingers at an assistant. Get this to legal immediately. And fetch Mr. Hargrove. He'll want to see this. Liam exchanged a look with Maria. That was their cue. As Whitaker hurried off, Liam slipped into the crowd, moving toward the VIP section where Hargrove held court. The man looked every inch the billionaire. Charcoal suit, polished shoes, a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Then he saw Liam. For a split second, pure terror flashed across Hargrove's face before he schooled into cold amusement. Mr. Carter, I heard you were detained. Liam didn't blink. I heard you kidnapped little girls. Hargrove's smile didn't reach his eyes. A misunderstanding, I'm sure. He leaned in. But since you're here, let's talk business. You walk away now. I make sure your daughter is returned unharmed. Liam had rehearsed this moment 100 times since finding the documents. He let his voice carry. Funny you should mention business, Vincent, because I found something of yours. He threw the documents onto the nearest auction podium. The crowd murmured as people craned to see. Hargrove went very still. You don't know what you're playing with. Oh, I think I do. Liam raised his voice. These prove your father stole my uncle's designs, that he falsified lawsuits, that he ordered arson on competing garages. He turned to the gathering crowd, and that this man has been trying to cover up by threatening me and my 10-year-old daughter. The room erupted. Reporters surged forward. Auction staff scrambled. Hargrove's face twisted in rage as he hissed to an aide, Get Boone. Now. Maria appeared at Liam's side, her phone out, live streaming to 3 major networks. They just issued an Amber Alert for Sophie. For the first time, real fear flickered in Hargrove's eyes. Then the screaming started. The firefight. Boone burst into a service entrance, a pistol in each hand. The crowd scattered as he fired wildly, shattering a $2 million vase. End of the line, Carter. Liam ducked behind a display case as bullets tore through the air. Maria was shouting into her phone, to the police, to the news crews. He couldn't tell. Hargrove was trying to flee, shoving through the panicked crowd toward an exit. Liam made a decision. He sprinted after Hargrove, tackling him to the marble floor. The man thrashed, his expensive watch shattering against the tiles. Where is she? Liam snarled. Hargrove spat in his face. You'll never... A gunshot rang out. Liam braced for pain, but it was Hargrove who screamed. Boone's bullet had caught him in the thigh. The enforcer advanced, gun smoking. Sorry, boss. Loose ends. Then 3 things happened at once. The police stormed in, shouting for Boone to drop his weapons. Maria's voice cut through the chaos. Liam, they found Sophie, she's safe. And Whitaker, the auction manager, stepped onto the stage with a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, due to extraordinary circumstances, we are postponing today's auction. However, he held up Walt's documents. These will be turned over to the authorities immediately. Boone hesitated, then bolted for the exit. The police gave chase. Hargrove writhed on the floor, his blood pooling on the marble. Liam leaned down. Tell me where the prototype is, and maybe I'll call you an ambulance. Hargrove's laugh was a wet, choking sound. Too late. My men are all ready. Sirens wailed outside. Not police sirens. Fire trucks. Liam's blood ran cold. The storage facility. The auction. The acrid smell of burning rubber filled Liam's nostrils as he skidded into the storage facility parking lot. Flames licked the roof of Unit 42, smoke billowing into the dawn sky. Firefighters battled the blaze, their hoses sending torrents of water into the inferno. Maria grabbed his arm before he could sprint toward the flames. It's gone, Liam. There's nothing you can do. But Liam had to see for himself. He shook free. dodging a firefighter, and got close enough to feel the blistering heat on his face. Through the smoke, he could just make out the skeletal remains of the Porsche prototype, melted into a grotesque sculpture of what it once was. A hand clamped down on his shoulder. Detective Ruiz, the same cop who'd interrogated him, spun him around. "You're lucky to be alive, Carter. Boone's men were waiting here when the fire started." Liam's voice was raw. "Sophie, safe. We picked her up from a patrol car Boone had bribed." Ruiz nodded toward an ambulance where a social worker was wrapping a blanket around Sophie's shoulders. "She's tough. Kept asking if you'd save the race car." The way of the past week crashed down on Liam all at once. He stumbled toward his daughter, falling to his knees as she launched herself into his arms. "You came," she whispered into his neck. Liam held her tighter than he ever had before. "Always." Over Sophie's shoulder, he saw Ruiz talking to Maria, their expressions grim. The detective handed her a business card before walking away. Maria approached slowly. "They caught Boone trying to flee the country. He's singing like a canary about Hargrove's operations." She hesitated, but the prototype was the only physical evidence linking the stolen designs directly to Hargrove. Without it, Liam understood, Hargrove's lawyers would spin this. The documents might not be enough. Sophie pulled back, her eyes red but fierce. "Grandpa Walt left you something else." Liam blinked. "What?" She dug in her pocket and produced a small silver key, different from the storage unit key. "The policeman said a lady gave this to me. She said to tell you, check the vault." Maria's breath caught. The bank. The vault. First National's vault door groaned as the manager turned the key. "This box hasn't been accessed in 15 years, he said. "Paid through 2099 in cash." Liam's hand shook as he pulled out the slim metal drawer. Inside lay 3 items. A deed to Walt's original garage property, now prime downtown real estate. A USB drive labeled for Liam the Truth. And a faded photo of Walt standing beside the Porsche prototype, with Liam's father. Maria plugged the USB into her laptop in the bank's conference room. The video that loaded showed Walt, 20 years younger but already with weary eyes, sitting in what looked like the very garage Liam had inherited. "If you're seeing this, Liam, it means they finally came for me." Walt rubbed his grease-stained hands. "I never stole those cars. I built them. Every damn one. The Ferrari? Started as a wrecked 58 Testarossa. I rebuilt from scrap. The Porsche? My design, my hands." He leaned closer to the camera. "Hargrove wanted the glory without the work. When I refused to sell, he ruined me. But I kept proof, molds, templates, serial numbers I changed. It's all buried under the garage." The screen cut to schematics, close-ups of hidden markings on engine blocks, microscopic serial numbers etched in places only a restorer would know to look. Maria's eyes widened. "This proves every car in that garage was built or modified by Walt. Their entire value comes from his work." Liam stared at the screen. Not just a fortune. A legacy. The final play. News vans swarmed Christie's when they returned. Reporters shouted questions about Hargrove's arrest, the fire, the missing prototype. Liam walked straight to the auction podium and inserted the USB. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said as Walt's video played on every screen in the room, "today we're not selling cars. We're selling history." The bidding war that followed would be legendary. The Ferrari sold first, $52 million to a tech billionaire who wanted the ultimate underdog story. The Jaguar went to a museum. The Shelby to a private collector who promised to display it beside Walt's photo. When the gavel fell on the final lot, Walt's original blueprints and molds, the total stood at $214 million. Maria squeezed Liam's hand as the crowd applauded. He'd be proud. But Liam was looking at Sophie, sitting in the front row beside Rosa, her face alight with wonder. This wasn't about the money anymore. It was about justice. The garage. 1 month later. Liam stood in the now-empty garage, sunlight streaming through the repaired doors. The cars were gone, but the foundation remained, literally. Construction crews had discovered Walt's hidden workshop beneath the concrete, complete with original molds and tools. It would become the centerpiece of the Walter Carter Restoration Museum, opening next year. Sophie kicked a pebble across the floor. Are we really moving? Liam smiled. Just to a bigger place, with a real bedroom for you. He nodded to the corner where Roy, miraculously alive after being fished out of the harbor, was arguing with Maria about wiring. And we're keeping the garage. The sound of tires on gravel made them turn. A sleek black sedan pulled up, and Detective Ruiz stepped out. Hargrove took a plea deal, he said without preamble. 20 years, all assets forfeited. He handed Liam a thick envelope, including this. Liam opened it to find signed title transfers for every car from the garage, now legally as again, despite being sold. Ruiz smirked. Turns out selling stolen property you rightfully own is complicated. The buyers agreed to let you keep honorary ownership. He nodded to the empty garage. Thought you might want something to remember them by. As the detective drove away, Sophie tugged Liam's sleeve. Can we get ice cream? Liam laughed, tossing the envelope onto the workbench. Yeah, kiddo, we can get ice cream. He took one last look around the garage before switching off the lights. Some legacies weren't about what you left behind, but what you built forward. And theirs was just beginning. A new life, 1 year later. The scent of fresh paint and polished chrome filled the air as Liam stood in front of the newly rebuilt Walter Carter Restoration Garage. The once crumbling building now gleamed in the summer sun. Its restored brick facade bearing the same hand-painted sign Walt had hung decades ago. A crowd gathered behind velvet ropes. Reporters, car enthusiasts, and half the town who followed Liam's story from broke janitor to guardian of a legacy. Sophie, now 11 and buzzing with energy, tugged at his sleeve. Dad, it's starting. Liam adjusted his tie, still uncomfortable in anything fancier than a work shirt, and stepped up to the microphone. The crowd quieted. Most of you know how I got here, he began. A year ago, I was a janitor with an eviction notice and a mountain of debt. Then I inherited a garage full of what I thought was scrap. A chuckle rippled through the audience. But what I really inherited was my uncle's life's work, his passion, his refusal to let the world tell him no. He glanced at Sophie, standing proudly beside Maria and Roy. And today we honor that, with a dramatic flourish. He pulled a tarp off the centerpiece display. The twisted, half-melted remains of the Porsche prototype, now preserved under glass like a sculpture. A plaque beneath it read, "The car that couldn't be silenced." The crowd erupted in applause. The unexpected visitor. As guests filed into the garage-turned-museum, Liam spotted a familiar face lingering near the back. Detective Ruiz, holding a manila envelope. "Got something for you," Ruiz said, handing it over from the evidence locker. Inside were Walt's original notebooks, recovered from Hargrove's estate. Liam ran his fingers over the grease-smudged pages, his throat tight. Ruiz nodded toward the crowd. "You did good, Carter. Turn the mess into something that matters." He hesitated. "Though I gotta ask, why keep the wrecked Porsche? That thing's gotta be worth millions, even as scrap." Liam smiled. "So people remember that what matters isn't the price tag. It's the story." A commotion at the entrance cut them off. A sleek silver Rolls-Royce pulled up, and the crowd parted as an elderly woman stepped out, leaning on a cane. Her sharp eyes locked onto Liam. Maria sucked in a breath. "Is that—" "Eleanor Hargrove," Liam finished, "the widow of the man who'd ruined Walt." The crowd hushed as she approached. Then, to everyone's shock, she extended a gloved hand to Liam. "I've come to apologize," she said, her voice clear despite its age, "and to return what my husband stole." From her purse, she produced a small velvet box. Inside lay a single car key, the original to the Porsche prototype. "It was his trophy," she said bitterly. "I want it where it belongs." Liam took it, placing it gently in the display case beside the wreckage. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Sophie broke the tension by grabbing Eleanor's hand. "Want me to show you my dad's favorite car?" As the old woman let herself be led away, Maria bumped Liam's shoulder. "You realize you just got the happiest ending possible, right?" Liam watched Sophie animatedly explaining a restored Shelby Cobra to Eleanor, their heads bent close together. "Nah," he said softly, "just a real good beginning." The legacy, that evening, After the crowds left and the museum closed, Liam sat on the garage's back steps with Sophie, sharing a chocolate milkshake from the diner down the street. Think Grandpa Walt would like it? Sophie asked, kicking her feet against the concrete. Liam looked up at the stars, then at the garage, alive again after years of silence. Yeah, kiddo, I think he would. Inside, Roy and Maria were already arguing over the next restoration project. The foundation had been poured for the new workshop, and somewhere in the world, the cars Walt built were being admired. His name finally given credit. It wasn't the ending anyone expected, but it was the one that mattered. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life tales of triumph against the odds. And remember, your greatest treasure might be hiding where you least expect it. Share your own garage moment in the comments below.